All right, so welcome everyone to this installment of our In Conversation series. My name is Sarah White. I am the Community Engagement Coordinator with the Northampton County Historical and Genealogical Society, sometimes shortened to NCHGS. The mission of NCHGS is to share the stories of Northampton County's past to encourage personal reflection, community dialogue, and an understanding of history's impact on our lives. It is our vision that through exploring local history, we will foster a more respectful, caring, and inclusive community. The Sigal Museum, where NCHGS is based and where I am now, is home to a significant collection of pre-European settlement artifacts, curated, loaned, and donated in collaboration with the Lenape Nation of Pennsylvania and members of our broader community as well. Our newest permanent exhibit, Destination Northampton County, tells the stories of those who settled here long ago as well as today. We encourage you to become a member of NCHGS for invitations to opening receptions, free museum admission, and free access to our research library. For more information, please visit www.sigalmuseum.org. We will have a question and answer period following the conversation, so please feel free to drop any questions into the chat feature on the bottom of your screen, and we will respond to as many as our time allows tonight. Tonight, NCHGS is thrilled and honored to be in conversation with Dr. Imo Imeh, Nigerian-American visual artist and scholar of African diaspora art. Dr. Imeh utilizes practices of visual art and research in art history to examine historical and philosophical issues surrounding the Black body and cultural identity. He has contributed to visual arts conversations with publications, lectures, and provoking art studio projects that interrogate the ways in which Black bodies are imagined, installed, ritualized, and transformed. His current studio project, Benediction, tells the story of a group of angels that have been cast down to earth and bound to the skins of Black boys and men. Dr. Imeh's Feeding the Veins of the Earth, part of the Benediction series, which you can hopefully see behind me, is currently on display at the Sigal Museum as part of the exhibit Another American's Autobiography, selections from the Petrucci Family Foundation collection of African-American art. So Imo, could we begin by discussing what led you into the visual arts?
Sure. Can you hear me clearly?
Everything's great.
Right. Before I answer your question, I just wanted to give a really heartfelt, express my heartfelt gratitude to the Sigal Museum for this opportunity to share my work, to talk about what I do, and to contextualize this very important painting that is in this very important exhibition put on by the Petrucci Family Foundation collection of African-American art. I also wanted to extend my gratitude to the PFF collection, not just for acquiring this work and for putting on this amazing educational and timely exhibition, but also for the mentorship I've already received. It is one thing to have your work be acquired by an institution of this caliber. It's another thing to feel like they've kind of taken your hand and walked you into a family, and that's special. And so I just wanted to thank Claudia Volpe and everyone associated with the PFF collection for their amazing support so far in my walk. I also, finally, the final extension is to my Westfield State family. The Sigal Museum has very, very generously offered Westfield students and faculty permission to this talk. And I'm just grateful for the support that I receive from my institution, students and faculty alike, in my endeavors as an artist. To answer your question, Sarah, and thank you, I have been drawing since I can remember. I never played sports, never did anything else. And so this is, for me, this has always been a kind of escape, the idea of the idea of creating new worlds, building new universes, and never feeling fixed in one place is something that that's always been a part of my life. My parents hail from Southeast Nigeria. I'm American born, but there was some traveling back and forth. I was raised there for a little bit. I've moved around a lot in my younger years, and I think that the escape that visual art provided me, especially when I moved to New York and became a teenager, the escape that visual art provided me is something that it still resonates. I still get excited when I open up a pack of drawing paper, when I open up, a pack of colored pencils. I genuinely still get the same excitement that I did as when I was very young. And so I never understood how people could outgrow making art, but that is my story. This project is a timely one for me. I'm going to attempt to walk you through how we arrive at this very important work that I created titled Feeding the Veins of the Earth, Grounded Angel, by kind of giving you a brief overview of my most recent projects, because for me, everything is connected. And I think if you spoke to most artists, it is the art historians, which I am also, but it's the art historians that later on come around and say, this was Picasso's blue period. And this was this. I don't know if Picasso or many of these other artists would say, I think I'm going to have a blue period. I think that these things for artists happen in a continuum, right? And so understanding this image that I will soon show you all in slide form for those who haven't seen the image, understanding that image within the context of my body of my past body of work really does feed into it. So to speak, a kind of history that you can't without seeing the full picture. And so this project, Benediction, is now expanded into something more very unexpectedly, and I will share that with you and how that happened. But the project really begins. It really begins as a kind of response to my situatedness in the pandemic, in the shutdown of the whole world, which we all experienced. And I think that for me, and I can't speak for all Black people, but I can say that for a lot of us, there was this sense of horror about the shutdown. In some way, the sense of loss, and what was kind of like the gracelessness of everything that was happening seemed exacerbated even more within the Black community because of so many horrific things that were already happening. In my kind of recollection, rumination over this time period, I saw it as apocalypse, like befalling everyone in America. Like, this is what apocalypse might feel like. But as a Black man from the Black community, I feel like I've witnessed apocalypse many times in my life, in maybe in ways that my white counterparts have not. And so somehow the world.
Never imagined his voice sounding like this.
I'm hearing somebody. Please, is everybody on mute? So somehow the idea that a microbe, right, not a war, not some brown menace that white America was waiting for to come from overseas and bomb us, right? A microbe could kind of bring the world to a standstill and our nation to its knees and become the ultimate equalizer for a season was something that fascinated me. And in a way, I felt more visible during the eclipse of the pandemic, this cloud that kind of rolled over us and wound up illuminating so many things that people in my community had been talking about. It was very strange, for example, in the middle of the shutdown, the middle of the pandemic, when so many people were dying, and hearing people in Florida saying, I've been standing in this unemployment line for hours, for days, and how come this is, Black people in Florida have been complaining about the problems with the unemployment lines, right? But suddenly, white America became aware, became aware of these challenges, right? We all, for a short season, began to experience apocalypse together. And while that should have maybe brought us together closer, as a nation, it was also the other things that became more visible that I think shattered a lot of our visions of the United States. And for me, I know George Floyd, these images, Feeding the Veins of the Earth, was created in the midst of all of this, of Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and George Floyd and the protests and the political strife that this nation was under. But for me, it was really Ahmaud Arbery's death, the bullet that killed him, I feel ripped through me. And it triggered something in me, and something broke. And I began to reassess my own connections to white circles, to the school that I'm teaching at, which is predominantly white, to the church that I was going to, which was predominantly white. And I began to wonder how these circles viewed me and what my relationship should be with them. The angels that are flanking me right now are part of this series, Benediction. I began the series as a prayer, really, to God, realizing after George Floyd's death, and I didn't watch the video, I just couldn't do it. I wanted to feel guilty about it, but I promised myself I just wasn't going to watch these videos anymore. They felt like clickbait, right? It felt like it was entertainment during a very, very devastating time. Entertainment almost in a pornographic way, like this way that the Black body was being consumed again and again and again, right at the point of death, right? And those images were being replayed. I found it gross and devastating, and yet the video was so important, right? And so I started constructing these angels in response, because I, as a Christian man, wanted to have a conversation with God about the dismay that I was feeling, and with the understanding that my words may not fall on humans in a way that would change anything. And so these paintings in particular should be seen as prayers of a sort. And I'd love to give you a little bit of a detail of the two behind me, and then I want to share a few more. Actually, no, we won't do it that way. First, can I share a couple things with you over slides form, Sarah, and then we'll do a little detail shot?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to come a little closer. I have to explain to everybody what I'm doing, because it's a very strange studio talk to give this way. Let me share the screen. Feel free, by the way, those of you who are here, to post questions and comments. I will read the chat log later, trust me. And I'm happy to answer questions along the way. Sarah has been amazing in planning all of this. And this is kind of a conversation between myself and Sarah, and all of you, to be as illuminating as possible. So don't be shy about any questions you may have. And the questions may not be highbrow questions. They may just be like, hey, what's a pencil? How do you use that? And that's the good question too, okay? This is the painting in question. This is the work that is currently in the exhibition at the Sigal Museum, Feeding the Veins of the Earth. And I just wanted to, so as I was talking about the Benediction angels, it is a large piece. For those of you who haven't seen it or can't see behind Sarah, it's a large work, and it has siblings. Okay, it has brothers that are also around the same size and that are kind of floating around different areas in the United States right now, which is kind of fun. But this is me working on two of them here, Angel Landing on the left and the cries of our brother's blood or my brother's blood on the right. The whole idea behind these angels is that they're cast down from heaven, and their job is to serve as witnesses to the plights, the struggles, the traumas and triumphs of Black boys and men, and report back to God after a season. So their stay on earth is finite, and they're supposed to give this report to the Lord. And it was my last desperate cry after seeing what I saw during 2020, while also experiencing the loss that we all witnessed, right? That we all experienced. And that is the project. And the pieces, oh, sorry, I'm trying to change the thing here. Here we go. I'm just giving you a general idea of what they look like. It was important that these figures be large, that they take up an entire picture plane, and that they fill the space of my studio. I wanted them to rise to the ceilings, right? And I didn't want the angels to feel trapped in a frame. And so it was also important in a way that, you see, these are done on unstretched canvas that are pinned to the wall, but because of the way they're designed, it gives the illusion that the paintings are on the wall, right? That they're floating in space, and there's something very beautiful about them. And the ground, those of them that are on the ground listening for something, their ears pressed as they wait to hear something that we can't as humans, something that is growing, that is imminent, that will come, or that are listening for evidence that their brothers who are buried there are still alive, or may have come back to life. There's a whole magical thing about all of this. But the ground itself is, we know there's a ground because of the angels on the ground, not because that we see grass and there's a line and all of that. And so it's important here, the visibility of the angels, the visibility of these gigantic Black spiritual creatures becomes the focal point. And it is this cry to be seen, and not only to be seen, but to be radiant and to be resplendent, to be vibrant. It is not enough. It is not enough to ask for civil rights, right? I want to thrive. It is not enough to ask for visibility. Like, oh, well, we're in the pandemic now. Can you kind of see me? No. I want you to be aware of everything that I can be. And that is part of the thinking behind this project. Rachel, I mean, not Rachel, Sarah, do you have any? I'm just giving you an
yes,
opening.
First of all, there's so much I want to unpack just in that little
bit. Yeah.
And okay. Also, ironically, some of the questions that are coming in the chat are leading into my next question. So,
oh, wonderful.
I just want to say too that I know it's hard to tell behind me how big this piece is.
Yeah.
But we get so many compliments as someone who works at the front desk that it's very easy to feel when you're standing in front of it, you feel like you are answering to the image in this photo.
Yeah.
And it's one of those pieces, like, it's the only piece on the wall behind me. Like, it's very easy to be completely in awe of this piece.
Right.
And between all the different elements and intersections that are happening in your work, we have a question from Rachel. Can you tell us about your creative process? Is there a particular place that you always begin with a work, or does it change piece by piece? Does it move organically? Can you speak to your process about in Benediction and also just in general?
Yeah, I can do that. I can do that with oh gosh, because there's so many different processes. There isn't any one process, right? And so let me stop the share. I'm going to come back to the share, okay? And let me step back and walk in front of one of these pieces, just in response to what you just said, Sarah, about feeling like you're answering to the work, and also to Rachel's question. So because Zoom does these mind tricks, so this is the scale of the work, right? And in many ways, even though he's a peaceful, beautiful being, this is the title piece of the show. It's titled, the title piece of the whole collection. This is titled Benediction. And in this case, it's this very tremendous angel who is standing guard over a baby oak tree, a seedling. And I don't know if you've ever seen a picture or seen what a seedling of an oak it looks like, but it is a very, you think seedling, it's gonna be a cute little plant that's like, it stands up straight. It is something that already projects what it's going to be. It's gonna be a mighty oak, right? And I was so taken by the oak as a seedling that I decided to use that as the symbol of a young Black being, right, who's already behaving as this mighty fortress of a human being, with the roots much larger than the actual tree, right? The roots suggesting already how massive and significant this being is going to be, and the angel is sharing a prayer over a prayer of protection over this seedling. So in terms of answering that question, Rachel, for process, for a work like this, I wanted to have this gentle but powerful quality. This is a work where I would start using a very controlled method that I have. I love drawing. It's my favorite thing to do. I don't like painting. I'm not a strong painter. I know how to use paint. But people who know how to paint, like, Imo, come over here, I'll show you how to paint. You know, I'm not a painter. I know what my strengths are. I can manipulate paint in the way that someone who draws manipulates paint. And I'm very open, I share that. I don't mind admitting that, okay? So while this is paint, it's a strong drawing. I know how to draw. And I use color pencil to sketch this out. And you can't really see it well when I use the color pencil. Oh, you know what you can do? Rachel, you can spotlight me. And then on the magnifying glass so they can see this up close, if you don't mind. I forgot that we had that capability.
There we go.
We practice. So all of you can see this a little better now. This is what the image looks like. It's a very, very powerful image. I'm so happy that it exists. And there's the baby oak tree being all oak tree-ish. And you'll take note that the oak tree and the vines, the roots are all done in charcoal, white charcoal and black charcoal. I wanted it to stand out a little bit from the image, which is done primarily in oil. You can see the green areas, these feathered areas here. You can see some of where the green is the colored pencil, the original that I drew in the image. I don't like taking my drawing out of the painting. I don't know if you can see at the very top, it looks like two lines at the top of his head, like they're unresolved somehow. I want that there. I left that there on purpose. I don't know which line to settle on. Like the painted line is the painted line is probably the line I should settle on, but I like the drawn line in there so much that I've argued with myself, well, if I erase it, it'll look more complete, but I don't want the drawing to be erased. I want you to see some of the mistakes I made and some of the indecision that I had as I worked on this, because otherwise, what are we really doing here? I'm not making a photograph, right? And so I want you to know that I worked on this, and that's important to me. And so while I have you on Magnify, Rachel, I hope I probably didn't really answer your question at all, Rachel. In terms of process, here's a good example. Here's a good example of the green color pencil before I paint, right? So here's one of the angels that I've started and that I intend to paint. And it's a smaller, shorter piece, right? So what I'll probably do with this work is go in with the oil paint and kind of redraw it with oil paint. I'm not going to say I'm going to paint it. I'm going to redraw it with oil paint. One of you all who's an artist is going to teach me how to paint one day, and I will be very grateful. So, but Rachel, to answer your question, there are these other ways that I work. Some of the pieces that I do are, while I don't mix colors, I love employing color in certain images for a certain kind of look that I'm going for, or for a certain kind of conversation that I want. And this particular piece is titled Octave, and it's a repeated figure that's shown up in this series of this singing angel, eyes closed, and he's now, you can see my studio. This is what my studio looks like. This figure, these singing angels or praying angels are now showing up in different contexts in my studio. So you see how they're all doing something a little different, but they're part of this body of work, right? And to show you just how much I enjoy drawing, this is what I enjoy doing. This is what I do. These are my strengths. And so, Rachel, to answer your question in a convoluted way, this is my first love, right? And I think over the years, I found a way to take what I do as a draftsman, to bring that into the world of painting, especially when you start working at these scales, right? These are incomplete works. But when you start working at these scales, you got to find another way to make the work visible, right? And so I've had to dive into paint. Could you please put me back on the main screen?
Yes.
And I'll share a few more things with you briefly before I go. Before I rush back. Rachel, that's a great question. I'm going to share this screen again, and I'm going to walk you through very, very quickly. And I know, Sarah, it's a conversation, Sarah. I'm going to keep reminding myself that. So the instant you feel like I'm going too long on one thing, don't feel bad. Please interrupt me. So there is this project I did a couple years ago, and it's connected to this in some way, in that it speaks to just where my heart is with this project, and with just where I am mentally and emotionally. There was I encountered. I'm a professor of art history at Westfield State University, and so I was teaching. I teach an African-American art course, and I came across this book titled 10 Little Nigger Girls, written by a British author, Nora Case, in 1907. And I wanted to, we were learning about stereotypes, Black racist stereotypes from the early 1900s and whatnot. And so I did a series that talked about, because in the original book, the Black girls in the book they're killed off in these horrific ways. One is like eaten by a bear. One is making candy, and she gets burned alive. I mean, it's a children's book to teach white kids how to count, right? And it comes from a song, 10 Little Indians, right? 1 little, 2 little, 3 little Indians. You know about this book. You just don't realize you know about it. It's in popular culture. And so I was fascinated with this. The fact that it was part of the minstrelsy, so there was music involved, the fact that it was a storybook for children. And I'm like, what would it be like to have a conversation about 10 Black girls, you know, who are in various states of danger? And so I did, right? In some of the works that I'm showing girls that they're being attacked by this like Black mob that represents the danger, right? Here's forgotten girl who is in this place of desolation because she's forgotten. Girl on Fire, I drew that directly from the original story, and you can see the ink going over, erasing forgotten girl. I was interested in the whole idea of the self-destruction panels. A syringe girl is involved in drugs because she can't stop herself, right? Suicide girl. I take the story of Perseus going after the Gorgon, Medusa, but I replace Perseus with the Black girl who sees the monster in herself. And so the only way to be the heroine is to kill herself, right? And so I tried to find these different ways to have a conversation about real issues in the Black community. And then you immediately realize these issues they go much further than the Black community, right? But it's the invisibility that Black children have in our nation that really scares me. See, it's one thing if you're rambunctious or if people just see you as loud and whatever else, like a problem. It's another thing if they don't even regard you, because a certain kind of danger can befall you if you're invisible. Anything can happen to you if you're invisible. And it is usually the invisible people in the world that are preyed upon. And so Black children, Black youth as invisible is one of those issues that shows up in my work, Selfie Girl, and so on and so forth. You can see the musical scores from the minstrelsy. I was taking real songs out of real minstrel songs and placing them on the bodies of the girls as if they were tied to the theater of racism at the time. So contemporary girls that are stuck on musical scores of the 1800s. And then a rash of racist incidents broke out on my campus in 2017. It's important to say that a rash of racist incidents broke out on many campuses in 2017. I won't say that these were necessarily linked to Donald Trump and his rhetoric. I'll just say that his rhetoric existed and these things happened on campuses across the nation. And in response, I created a body of work that revisited the story of Trayvon Martin. I won't labor here for too long, but it really involved this performative work that placed me really almost like became a Black spectacle to some degree on my campus, but it was very much embraced by my campus community. In a theater, we hosted a 17-hour event where a portrait of Trayvon was made at the center, and he was surrounded by 17 other boys over the last 100 years who have befallen this kind of fate. And people got involved. It was a remarkable event, and the image was destroyed at the end. Nobody knew that was going to happen. And it was a little traumatic for everybody. But in the midst of all of this, we celebrated him. And we celebrated these other boys, and they were seen, many of their names were not known. They were finally seen. Even the one here, Eugene Williams, who was killed, I think it's 1917. I think he was drowned. We don't have a picture of him. And so the story goes on. There is a way to have these conversations. So for me, I'm skipping around. So by the time we talk about feeding the veins of the earth, I'm at this point where there is this need once again to have a conversation about my visibility, about who we are and our visibility as Black people, and what it means in this nation. Where I feel like we constantly arrive at this place, and so this was a very important painting for me to make. I have to tell you that this is also one of the hardest paintings I've ever worked on. It gave me trouble. Its position, it was the position on the wall. The light fell on it in a weird way. I couldn't get the drawing right, and I know how to draw. I mean, that's what I do, right? The drawing, it was like, no, I'm doing my mathematics correct. Like I know how to draw. But this drawing took so much work to get down properly. I had a source I was using. I had to stray from the source. I had to use my imagination because the source, it wasn't working the way it needed to. And so it means a lot to me that this work, the struggle, I didn't know that it was going to be in this show and be part of this conversation. And so it is just, I want it to be known, anybody that will listen. My workout partners at the time, we were working out in like a basement during the shutdown because gyms were closed. And they're like, what's going on? And I'm like, man, I'm pissed off. It's like I feel like I forgot how to draw, you know? And so, but the image exists as part of this bigger series. I wanted to, this is a big jump. So I Sarah, for the sake of time, let me just stay here for a second because you won't hear me with that image. This work here, titled "Breathe," comes in October, right around that time. There's still protests going on, but it's getting colder. And I wrote a song that's connected to this work. There, you can see the musical scores in portions of the image. I was really struggling with these issues of invisibility. And you want to know something that I also struggled with, Sarah?
Absolutely.
It's just gonna sound weird. It's probably gonna sound weird.
That's okay.
I started getting nervous around October, November. Now, look, I've been nervous since January because of the elections that were coming up. I just knew bloodshed was gonna happen. I knew that, okay? But that's because I'm from the Bronx and I'm not a fool, all right? So, all right, so I knew that. I was already nervous about that, a lot of anxiety. But the thing that made me really nervous was the conversations about a vaccine. Not because I was afraid of taking the vaccine, Sarah. I started hearing rumors and whispers of, oh, they rushed it through, there's a vaccine. I was like, okay. Sarah, the problem with the vaccine is that it was going to make everything go back to normal. And there was something about the fact that we were all seeing it. Everybody was glued to their phones because they couldn't go to the malls and they couldn't go to the theater. And so everything that was happening everybody was glued. We were all watching. And I began to see this period of time during COVID as this closing window, because once we all got vaccinated and once COVID wasn't a thing anymore, you could hear people say that I can't wait for things to go back to normal. And I gotta tell you that I knew that after Ahmaud Arbery's shooting, I was never gonna be normal again, whatever that was.
Yeah.
I was already in another place. And so I began to feel anxious. Isn't that crazy? Like their bodies dropping around the world and the nation. And I'm like, can we hold this out for just a little longer? So that we can figure out what the new normal is gonna be, because the new normal can't be the old normal, right?
Exactly.
And so it was in that context that this idea of breathe came up, this image and the concept. I am going to pause right now for any questions, because I'm going to move you into the next room and explain to you what the hell I'm working on in there. Because it doesn't look like this at all. It looks like the next picture.
It's probably a good thing that you couldn't see me during this because I was furiously taking notes.
Oh, okay, okay.
So there are
Oh,
some
guys, oh, by
questions
the
in
way,
the.
guys, sorry, guys, you're on a cart. It probably looks really weird. I'm moving you on a cart literally right now. Bear with us. All right, go ahead, Sarah. I'm
Please,
listening.
so a lot of the themes that I pick up in your work, and I'm certainly not an art critic and I haven't studied art, but one of the prominent themes that I see coming through is this progress and this movement, not only in your progress on the piece, but in the completed piece as well. So how you were saying that you keep your progress, you don't erase lines. And I was wondering if with each piece or on a case-by-case basis, was there ever a time that you weren't sure? I'm not really sure how to phrase this question, but how do you know when a piece is completed? Like, is there one moment where you say, yes, okay, this is it? Or do you leave it for a little bit, come back to it, leave it for a little bit, come back to it?
I'm really bad at this. If there's one area, Sarah, where I think I need, mentoring, it's in this area. And this is also one of those areas that make me, that remind me that while I'm definitely an artist, I've always been an artist, all of my academic training has been in art history or social sciences or anthropology or ethnography. I was never an art major and I don't have my MFA. And so my practice makes perfect sense because this is who I am. But I feel like if I'd sat in an MFA program, I think I would have a better, I think I would have like even just being in a community of artists where they are like, hey, Ima, stop working on that. Or Ima, don't you think that if you added red to this, it would do this? So I've been very insulated in a way. And I hope that in the coming years that that will change, maybe with a few residencies or something, like just in terms of uh, getting me socialized with other artists. So that's an area that I struggle with. I'm not very good at knowing when a piece is over. There's a piece that I was working on that I shared online a few years ago. And I was like, well, I still got to do this and that to it. And one of my artist friends, his name is Victor Ekbuk. Look him up, Victor Ekbuk, EKPUK. He's amazing. He hit me up personally and said, don't you touch that thing again. It's done. Don't touch it. And I was like, okay, it's done then, and that was really great. I wish that would happen more often. So but he hit me up as like my big brother in art and was like, if you touch that thing, I'm gonna hurt you. and so but I needed that, and so it's I'm actually quite I'm okay with admitting that that's not something I'm very strong at yet. And so the way I work, because there are all these lines, I'll show you a couple images in here, intersecting lines and bodies upon bodies and lines. Because that's my flavor, I could just keep going. I remember, as a high schooler and beyond, I would work on the same drawing for years. I mean, not for years, for months at a time, and just keep retracing lines. It's very meditative. And so there is something cathartical about it as well. And so if you're making this work just for you, then that's perfect. But I'm at a place in my career now where I can say, oh my God, I think I'm an artist. So I may have to start you can see some of these lines I'm talking about in some of these pieces here. Sorry. There are lines everywhere. I could keep going, with some of these. I'm looking for a good example. Maybe in Girl on Fire, you can really see where I get lost in her dress. I get lost in the fire dress. I was there for hours listening to music and just creating energy out of lines, and I loved it there, right? And so it is yeah, anyway, I hope that answered your question to some degree.
Yeah, and Girl on Fire in particular, I love that it's almost like you can see a process in the story of the image as well as in your creative process.
Yes, yes, yes,
I'm going to read a question out of the chat.
yes.
Zaria wants to know, are the figures in your work based off of real life references or people? And if so, how do you go about finding models to use in your projects?
The figures in my current series in Benediction are. And I have 3 or 4 principal models for the Benediction series. And these are just people who were friends, former student, one of them, former
Oh.
Westfield student. He's got a job now. He's a teacher, he's like, you painting me again? I'm like, yeah, I'm painting you again, so it's like availability, it's funny. Some people will go like, John Singer Sargent has this principal, his principal model, da da da. He's the model he always used. I'm like, are you sure this ain't just the person who was available? Like, because at some point it's like, look, I got $50. I need a model. Can you help me? Or I have lunch and I need a model. Can you help me? And then in other situations, like the girls, the in the 10 little nigger girls.
All the way, yeah.
Please, somebody mute whoever. Can you hear that? Are you hearing that too?
Yeah.
Okay. Please, everybody, if you can hear this, please mute your mics. It's disruptive. This is me in professor mode now. But yeah, but Zara, to answer your question, in the girls series, all of these girls were out of my head. They were not from. I was only interested in the energies, just creating these girls and these characters, and so there is something about them that looks a little less naturalistic, right? So, and I go back and forth between how I deal with that, because here I'm interested in the effects of these works and less about getting the face properly, getting the face portrait ready or correct in that way. Um, I would love to really quickly just kind of explain what I'm currently working on.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not going to stay on this image for too long. It's just awful. But I, like many people, was quite overwhelmed and fascinated as a historian about what we saw on January 6th. And so I need you to understand where I was. I was here at my studio working on my Benediction project. I'm talking about breathing and finding things in the ground and feeding the veins of the earth and music and beautiful Black people and all kinds of, very poetic and blah, blah, blah. And then, um, and then January 6th happened. And I wasn't totally surprised that something happened. It's just I didn't expect it to end in such spectacular fashion. I mean, like I said, for a while I was expecting bloodshed in November. When that didn't happen, I was like, oh, we passed it, right? But it was just a shining example of what so many Black people already know about this nation, because many of us, I won't speak for all of us, but I'll speak for many of us, we watched the events unfold
Mhm.
with the same thing in our mind. Like, we couldn't have done that. That couldn't have been us up there. We would have been executed. And we all know that. Even white folks know that. They know that. We all know that. And so we are still living in a nation that can allow this to happen. But my fascination with the Capitol riots, and I have to say, I went through what I can only describe, and I really have. Look, I'm not a wordsmith, but I'm good with words to some degree. I can't come up with a better framing of this other than a kind of artistic constipation. I was constipated for like 6 weeks, which is a long time for me to not work on art. I was completely plugged up, like, because of what I saw. I was like, there's so much here. And then I started arguing with myself. I'm like, no, I'm not doing anything. I'm not going to paint what I saw. because it was awful, and I'm working on angels right now. But I began to think more and more about some of what I was seeing, and the sources. There's so much sources online. Everybody, so many people took pictures and filmed, and there were so many flags, and everything was color coordinated. It was what a weird day, right? Um, and then the images. And we can stop here and talk about any one of these at length, right? But I was so taken by what I was seeing as a historian, right? As a Black man who's a historian, who deals with images in art history. And so at some point, I knew that I was going to have to address this. And I knew that I was probably going to address it from from the angle of who I am as a Black Christian man, because of what we saw. There was this connection to, it was just out in the open in terms of this wrapping the cross, like wrapping an American flag around the cross, right? Which sounds so normal to us, but it really shouldn't, especially if you're a Christian. There's a strange fusion of Christian ideology and Americanism, patriotism. And as a Black Christian, that usually excludes us, right? And I just, to see it so openly put out there that they prayed before they went into the Capitol and pressed their butts against the walls and defecated. They prayed first. I mean, this is a strange thing. And I didn't want this to get lost. And so the hoisting up of the cross, please, as one of my my now passed away, my now deceased mentor, Robert Ferris Thompson, used to say, Xerox this with your eyes, this image, okay? That they hoisted this cross on the Capitol grounds, at the same location where they built gallows. It's a very strange day. And the playfulness with which they toyed with these symbols of horror, with these symbols of tragedy. Symbols, while they were saying, hey, yes, let's hang Mike Pence, symbols that still very much represent a certain kind of terror for a very specific kind of person in this nation. I was flabbergasted, but I was also not shocked, but I was. And I decided that, we need to be reminded of what this is. We need to be reminded of what lynching is, but we also need to be reminded of these Capitol grounds these Capitol grounds that were constructed by Black hands, Black enslaved hands. So for me, the more I thought about it, I began to feel like that Capitol invasion was a type of violation of Black bodies all over again. To build gallows there, those are hallowed grounds, but not because presidents have walked in and out of that space. They're hallowed grounds because we know who built them. And I was fascinated. And so that's how we arrived at this particular project that I'm working on, which isn't totally, I'm going to play with give me 1 second. Let me just see if I adjust the light, if that'll help a little. Is that too dark? Can you see the image better though?
I can see the image better, but you're pretty in shadow.
I got dark right now. Did I get that? I just wanted you to be able to see the image a little bit better. I'll change it back. Bear with me, guys. I'm sorry. There we go. That's not too bad. I put it back. But it's in this context that I started working on this series here, titled In His Name, all lowercase. And I was interested in It started out as an interruption to the Benediction series, but quickly developed to include the Benediction angels. So I'm standing here just so you get a sense of scale. Could you please toggle me again, Sarah, and then I
Yes.
will
Back
give you.
to phone.
Thank you, Sarah. Sarah, you're doing awesome work.
I'm doing my best.
You are doing awesome work. So this is one of the images. This one is titled On Earth as It Is. And in it, if you look in the center, you can see that motif of the guys pulling the cross up. You can see, there they are pulling. If you look closely to the little men, that's how the image started. It started with them, right? And what I did was to show that there were gallows at the Capitol grounds. I just created a double looped noose. So one of the loops are going around the cross head, and the other one is going on the body, around the neck of angels that are now on the ground, but this time they are the Capitol grounds. And so this is all unfolding on top of the bodies of these gigantic angels. And the angels also, in this instance, one of the angels appears as a witness to a lynching that happens at some point in time in the late 1800s. But he is the one that's being lynched. The angel shows up there, right? And he's flanked by two mask wearing Jesus figures. Jesus is in quotes. They're wearing masks as though they are this Western kind of constructed version of what Jesus looks like. But you can see underneath that, I mean, there's so many layers to this, like, because on one level, we look at this and we're like, oh yeah, that's Jesus. Why do we immediately say that? Because there's this agreed upon idea that has been really funneled down into this image. That's become the Western, especially United States representation of the Christ figure. And as a Christian, as a Black Christian man, I have many issues with this. I take issue with this, but they're wearing these masks as they are getting ready to lynch this Black being who I know is an angel. But before they lynch him, they're forcing him to take communion elements. And the idea of the communion, as we come to this work titled Communion, is one that's recurring in this particular series. There we go again. This time, the figures, the Black figures that built the Capitol are trapped in the columns of the Capitol building, right? And there's that guy that we saw in the picture. He was bleeding from his temple. I included him in this. Wearing a Jesus face mask that is slipping off his face and it's kind of breaking away. So we see the anger that is beneath. And this is another figure wearing that mask. But they're also kind of coming with communion. I was interested in the idea of communion elements being included as a type of weapon. Here we're talking about the broken body of somebody's broken body, somebody's spilled blood is being enjoyed in a ceremonial way by many, many, many white people of many, many different kinds of traditions who all agreed on that day. They all came together in full agreement. And in my mind, they took a type of unholy communion that day. And it was represented by what they did. So the fact that you had people at the Capitol who were, in some instances, pastors of churches, they played Christian music. In other instances, they were ministers in Catholic churches. In other instances, they were well-known anti-Semites. In other instances, they absolutely hated Black people and they made it known. They all agreed that day. And so for me, it was the nail in the coffin about the predominantly white church that I was attending, because I was like, I just don't know if I trust large circles of white people anymore. I'm being very honest about that. You can put me back on the main screen, please. I'm sorry. In terms of these as these bodies that recognizing myself within these spaces this is a very, very, very creepy time to be Black in this nation, because we're moving forward in time, because that's the direction time moves. And everything about what we think we know about history suggests that means we should be going in a more progressive way that maybe is better for everybody. And I'm just not so trusting of my body in large white spaces anymore. And it is something that I'm still contending with as an African American man, Nigerian-American African American man. It's not something that goes away. And so while people have turned the page on 2020, and we're all, the warm weather is coming, we're going outside again, and I'm still at the George Floyd moment. Like this summer, my birthday is May 31st. I'm still there, guys. Like I haven't left there. I know the guy that murdered him has been convicted. I mean, we're supposed to all feel better about that, right? But there is this way that there's a tension there that I feel very, very liberated to speak about, because I don't know if there's time anymore to play games with people about what we're seeing. I'm pausing here to give you a chance to talk. I'm sorry.
No,
Sarah.
do not apologize. Claudia left
Oh, go ahead.
Claudia actually left a really lovely comment, and I'm just going to read the whole thing because I think it speaks to everything that we've just said. She wrote, "I love the idea of aspects of your pieces being unsettled." Sorry, I had to scroll a little bit. "Since you're exploring issues and themes that continue to be unresolved." And I think this part is really important.
Wow.
It honors the tension that we presently hold and opens the door to future interpretations of your work as our circumstances hopefully change over time. That is, first of all, a beautiful comment, a beautifully well-written comment.
It is. Well, if you know Claudia knows how to write some well-written comments. But it's such a good way of looking at it, because the fact of the matter is, these things, the things that we're creating, wow, you can set them on fire and they can be destroyed, right? The hope is that these things will live on beyond me, right? Beyond us. And the question will be, in one instance, this is a visual diary kind of marking where I was when I made these, right? It's very important that they are that. In another instance, somebody will look at these and feel like it's documentary. I'm not calling this documentary. I'm very much doing this from my viewpoint. I'm not a news organization, and based on what I've seen, I don't want to be, right? But somebody in the future will look at this and feel like this is documentary to some degree. And so the question is, how elastic can these works be for interpretation? That is it's such a lovely way to think about this. Claudia, it's a being okay with these works as elastic, as layered, as unresolved, as not having a perfect cadence at the end, maybe as stopping in dissonance. I think there's something useful about that. And in many ways, I think it's very true. It ends up being an accurate depiction of where we are right now.
Right.
So thank you for that, Claudia. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful when I feel like as Americans especially, we have that need deep down to have a happy ending or for everything to be okay. And things are just not like that, right? So in in you leaving your work and letting it end on that dissonant level, I think it's exactly what it's intending to do, right? It makes us uncomfortable, and we should be, frankly.
Right. I agree. Do we have it's okay. Now I'm never, I'm not good at planning these talks out, Sarah, as I said. So my students are like, so what do we need to know for the exam? And I'm like, everything. You need to know everything I said. So Sarah, do we have time for another image, or
We do,
should
yes.
I be bringing this to a close so we can talk?
Yeah, I would say one more image, and then we'll finish up with the questions that are in the chat.
Cool. I have the Ashley, well, I don't call it the Ashley Babbitt piece, but I can share that one, the one I shared with you earlier.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll turn this around. You guys are on a cart. You're on a cart. Do not adjust your television screens. Let's see if I can get this. I wonder, I don't know. Is it too bright? You want me to adjust the light and see if let me see if this will help a little. That's a little better for the image, right?
Good.
That's better for the image. So I'll sit away from this. Thank you guys for being so patient. So this work here, can you see me?
Yep.
Oh, wonderful. This work is titled "And I'll Be There With You." And it was actually, of all the works that I created, it was the first work that I knew I was going to do. And of this series, and it's what kind of broke the constipation. I'm like, okay, this is before Ashley Babbitt became a huge topic of conversation in right-wing media, a martyr for a cause. Her story fascinated me. This veteran who also wanted to overthrow the government, and there are all these strange contradictions, and the use of Christianity in her language, textured by the awful things she was tweeting and saying. She's a fascinating figure to be. Fascinating is the word that kept coming up for me, guys. I know, like I'm supposed to be horrified by her. I'm fascinated with with all of this, because as someone who writes and reads history and who cares about it, it was just everything came right to view all at once. It was like it all happened, right? And so her death, and then to find out later her death by a Black man. There's so many layers to this. Anyway,
Right.
Her death. I knew I had to do something about her, and I knew that it was going to involve, because the word that kept coming to me, interestingly enough, was pity. Pity kept coming. Pity. And I'm like, no, I don't want to pity her. I don't want to care about her at all. But that word pity kept coming to my mind. And what I decided to do was, I knew the work immediately was going to be a long piece. Okay. And I decided to take Michelangelo's Pietà, which is this large, amazing sculpture Michelangelo created of a full-grown Jesus after he's been taken off the cross. Mary, his mother, is holding his body in her hands, and she's seated, and she's massive, and she's bigger than he is, right? This scene never happened. All right, it's just one of those images that gets celebrated as like almost like a love letter to Mary, right, in the Catholic faith. And so here's this full-grown Jesus in the arms of Mary, and her hands are massive. She's holding him up. It's called Pietà, which means pity. I was like, okay, I'm going to use the Pietà format, and I want to have a conversation about Ashley Babbitt. So I tilted her a little bit more this way, so it was like invisible arms were holding her. But I'm like, invisible arms of what? QAnon, something fictitious. It didn't make sense to have her being held by even invisible arms or hands, right? And so I thought about having ropes holding her up, but that began to feel very, look, Sarah and everybody who's listening, one of the things that I had to strongly consider as I was working on this was how I, as a Black man, am allowed to depict white women. White women don't show up in my work. So the head of this studio space, this building, is an amazing artist, and I called her for advice, and she's a white woman, and I asked her for advice about the whole project. I was like, look, what am I doing? What is this? And she was immediately, because she's treats me like a little brother. She's a really, really lovely person. She really does. And she was immediately worried about the project I was working on. She's like, Ma, you're going into a new space. This is dangerous. Just be careful. But about this piece, the first thing I asked her was, have I sexualized Ashley Babbitt's body? Is this, because all I needed was a clip going to Tucker Carlson's show, right? Like, and so like in my mind, there were already, here I am, an artist who I've just explained to you how I use lines, and I'm doing catapults and all kinds of other things as I'm drawing in here freely. And here I immediately had to be careful. You know, how much thigh is being shown? You know, what am I doing here? And so on and so forth. And so I just became very aware of my own Black maleness as I was working on this piece. And it didn't anger me as much as I was just aware of it. I was very aware of it. And I don't know what to do with that for future conversation. But right now, I'm just aware of the fact that those were things I had to be careful about. I knew that I wanted the American flag in this work, but even little things like, should the flag touch the ground? Should it come off the canvas and touch the ground? What happens as a Black man if I paint a white woman, you know, wearing the American flag and the flag touches the ground? Does something explode? I don't know, you know? And so it's a strange thing. And I decided against the invisible hands. And I decided against the ropes, even though the ropes were going to be made of the flags, Confederate flags, because the flags were supposed to represent the various things, the various ideologies for which she died, which really led her to a whole lot of nothing, right? She died for nothing. I decided about spikes because I needed something to match the violent way she died. She didn't just die, right? She didn't die in her sleep. She was shot. There's grainy video of her blood pooling around her head. It is gross. It's terrible how she died, but she died as she was about to do something violent. The whole thing was violent, right? And so I wanted the splatter. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can see it. The initial ink stains, the splatter. I didn't need to show any blood. I just needed to show the moment of impact, you know? Sorry, let me do this here. That's probably a little better. I wanted to show the moment of impact, right? And so I decided that spikes were probably the best way to go, in that she falls into a pit of her own making and dies for nothing. So she maintains the original Michelangelo Pietà pose, but she's impaled on troubles of her own making, on javelins that were there for her to fall on from the very beginning. And the title of the work, which sounds biblical, "And I'll Be There With You," is very unfortunately one of the final things that Donald Trump says, straight from the transcript, in his speech right before people stormed the Capitol. I found that fascinating. That is the title of the work, all lowercase. And that is because he wasn't there, and nobody was, you know? And so there's a senselessness there that resonated for me. And I don't take joy in what happened to her, but I'm not sorry that it did either. I feel like it's something that should be analyzed.
Mhm.
And I don't know what to think about the fact that I see a human being that way. But this feels like a textbook case that should be analyzed. The symbolism around it, what she did and who she was and her history, um, and what happened to her, and who led her to this.
Mhm.
And so it is, these don't look like the angels. I know, but they're being developed in the same context, because I don't believe that they're separate at all. I
Mhm.
think that there is a way. Can you spotlight me for a second on the other one? Toggle me,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna go ahead and thank you. We're almost done, guys.
There. There we go.
I think that there is a way, you know, to have a conversation about the Capitol, you know,
Mhm.
and to have this conversation about our nation's history with Black people, because
Mhm.
I think that they're connected. There's a story there that I'm hoping to tell. I don't believe that the story is only told um, with images. I think that it involves text. I think that it involves music as well. And um, I'm very excited to be a part of this kind of storytelling, even if I'm just calling it a visual diary. Would you all indulge me for one more minute? And if I can, I read something to you?
Absolutely.
Okay, to do this. You can put me back on the main,
Good man.
and I just want to read. I'll explain to you what I'm reading. Reading the very last couple of paragraphs of an essay that I wrote. I was invited by Claudia Volpe of the PFF collection to pen an essay about um, it kind of again, it offers a little bit of context about my work, within this exhibition that's at the Sigal Museum. And so I wanted to read this, and I
Mhm.
wanted to read this while flanked by these angels. Um, these are my words, and I reread it and I was like, oh wow, this is still where I'm at right now. So if you just indulge me, I'll be
Of course.
quick. Often, often, Black folks are painted into the corner of advocacy to ensure that we have voices and to make sure that our stories are told with accuracy, that our history is recorded fairly. We are often destined to become witnesses to our own traumas and histories. I find myself negotiating with the exhaustion that accompanies unacknowledged grief and deciding if weeping can be converted into protest. Bearing witness may not always lead to our definition of justice, but there is something inherently noble, transformative, and even cleansing about its process. Bearing witness can pierce the wall of indifference and inspire change, granting the downtrodden, like so many of my people, gifts far greater than mere visibility. Having the world simply acknowledge me and my brothers and sisters is no longer a desire. I want much more than that. We deserve much more than that. I want us to thrive, and the capacity to thrive should not be limited to any one kind of group of people. Thriving is the embodiment of a healthy body politic. It is embedded within our cellular structures, our hearts and minds, regardless of race. It is what we are meant to do. So, in the midst of the struggles that I and so many before me have endured, I am hopeful for our collective transcendence into a new existence in the American experiment. I am convinced that my identity as an African American man of faith, born on the rich and storied grounds of these United States of America, absolutely matters in the historical tapestry of our union and in the broader scope of our nation's narrative. I use my voice and vision as a battering ram against the cold steel walls of oppression, because I truly believe that we do not have to settle for anything less than the abundance that awaits all of us in this lifetime. The limitness that accompanies thriving, the hope of this, is very near to my own heart. I am not certain that this hope offers healing, but I believe that it beckons me toward reviving. Thank you. And thank you so much for listening to my talk today. I'll gladly take any questions or comments that you have at this time, and I'll come closer so that you can see me.
That was an incredible work, and I think I can speak to what we're all thinking about how powerful that was and how that just took my breath away. I mean, every piece so far has taken my breath away. But Claudia actually asked a question that I think is relevant to the piece that you just read out. How do you protect your mental health when you're working with such heavy topics?
I listen to a lot of interesting music.
Okay.
Okay, well, just to be clear, I can't share my playlist with you because then I'd have to kill all of you. But
Excuse you.
okay, there's probably a serious answer. I you know, I think in the very near future I'm going to be working on some cool collaborations with other artists, and I think those collaborations are just going to be healing collaborations. Just let's just make stuff because it's beautiful, and we're allowed to, right? Because so much of what I do, I feel like I've been tasked to do, and it's so important to me. Um, it's so important to me. But you're right. This series, the last few series have been very serious, very heavy. Um, and I think when I was in high school, there I had a friend. I still have a friend. His name is Jaja Swinton. He's an amazing visual artist. He knows how to draw. I don't draw. He draws. All right. My God. Anyway, but Jaja in high school would say, Ima, you're either going to be a very successful artist, you're either going to be a very successful artist, a lawyer, or just an activist. And I don't remember. He told me this recently. He's like, you don't remember I used to say this? This bug, this idea, and I get it from my mom, I think, this idea of seeing wrong and wanting to fix it with whatever way I can. I think that's my mom coming through. And I think I've been like this for a while. And so I'm not good at keyboard warrioring. Yes, let's pretend that's a word. I would rather sit at a canvas or a piece of paper and figure out a way to change the little bit that I can, with what I have. And in the middle of all of this, there are these beautiful things that happen. Some of these pieces I'm working on right now, especially the Benediction, some of these smaller ones they're fun. They're fun to work on. They're beautiful pieces.
Good.
And I'm looking at them and I'm just like, oh, this is great, And so I'd like to think that the Benediction series, even though there is this haunting way that they've come to being, I'd like to think that, like, these pieces that are flanking me, that there is something as I'm working on them. I feel a life force. I feel like something rejuvenating is happening. So maybe this series is the start of something a little bit more beautiful, a little more calm for me. But it's really hard. It's really, really hard to barrel forward when there's so many things that need fixing. And I'm just like, man, I'm never going to be a politician. I know that, so I don't like administrative work. That's part of it. So, I mean, my emails, my students are like, hey, are you going to answer that? So sorry if you're in here, I'll get back to you, but so I can't do that, right? So I can teach and I can draw. And so mental health, I don't know. Maybe that's not a good answer. Maybe I don't have an answer. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. It makes me think of one of the overarching questions that I've been asking, and a lot of the people that I work with in various projects have been asking themselves the past 2 years especially, but since 2016, is who has the privilege of taking a rest? And that's something that I still ask myself in different aspects of my own life. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm visibly a white woman, so I have a privilege. I can sit down and I can rest at the end of the day with some things.
Right.
But I mean, that's a significantly bigger conversation than what we can fit
Yeah.
in the next couple minutes.
Yeah.
But I know you have some of your students here, and some of our colleagues are in the room, and for students who will
Oh,
hopefully see this too, do you have any advice for them for either in artwork or in coming to terms with everything that has happened and I don't want to say unfortunately is going to continue to happen,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
you know what I'm getting at. So
Yeah.
what is your kernel of wisdom?
To my students in particular, first of all, if you're in here, thank you. I appreciate it so much. Um, to my students and to students who will listen to this beyond, in recordings, do not begrudge the time that you are in. This is the time that God put you on this earth. You were meant to be experiencing these things right now. And if you are an artist, you are needed now more than ever. You are needed as documentarians. You are needed as just as expressionists, if that's a word, let's pretend it is. Um, you are needed. The world needs you right now. And so the scribbles that you're making that your mom or your dad or your aunt or whoever is like, what are you doing with that? How are you going to live off of that? You tell them
No,
I
that
said,
question, no.
yeah.
No,
Oh, you saw something?
no, that's that
Oh,
question,
oh yeah,
like,
oh yeah, oh yeah,
well, what's
oh
your
yeah,
real
yeah.
job? Like,
Yeah, you tell them I said being a working artist is one of the greatest things you can do because you don't owe anybody anything with your art. Now, if you can land some kind of gig or land a big internship with Disney or something else, or even something smaller, it's fine. But being a working artist, I'm a working artist. I'm a working artist. I can decline. Somebody says, I want you to paint this for me. And I'm like, well, I don't like the cut of your jib. No, I can decline. Right? So don't let anybody stop that thing that's inside of you from creating, and don't begrudge this time that you're in. It looks crazy. You've now lived through a pandemic. I mean, that only happens once every 100 or 120 years. It happened to you, right? Some of you are miss out your whole freshman year. Some of you didn't go to prom, you know. I mean, don't begrudge this. Use it. Use it. Speak to it, and speak to your peers about it, because I think that you have something to say. And I tell my students this all the time in class, and I'm telling you right now, you have something to say, and the world needs it. There is space for you as well, and you're not in a competition to have your voice heard. Um, you can create your own platform. Mark Zuckerberg kind of taught all of us that. We're all bloggers now, right? So that is my advice in terms of dealing with the heartache that is that seems to befall us a lot. I don't think things are necessarily going to get any better anytime soon. And I was just driving today thinking about that. I'm like, man, I don't see things getting better. I'm really worried about the next decade. Like, I'm genuinely worried. And the thing that gave me a bit of pep in my step when I got out of the car, was that, well, I'll answer those things too. I will use what I have. I will use song, I will use my voice, and I will use art. I can do what I can do, you know. And the other thing I'll say, and I'll say this to my colleagues. I have some of the most amazing colleagues at Westfield. Like, Like people, this whole Sarah, you should, this platform, that this way that we're doing this studio talk.
Mhm.
You know how I came up with this?
Oh, no, what?
There is a professor. Her name is Vanessa Diana of the Westfield English Department. And she hit me up and said, Imo, I know you're busy. Every time they email me, that's the first thing they say. Imo, I know you're busy. You know, my African-American literature course, we're reading something. We're reading a number of things that are really important. And I think you have something to say. And I think you have something to say that my students need to hear. I know we're in the middle of a pandemic. How can you talk to my students? And we devised this plan, well, I can do a talk or I can a Zoom, but that's boring. And I want to show the artwork. And this whole thing, it's like, hey, let's get headphones. Okay. Let's get a speaker. Let's figure this out. Let's get a camera. And it happened with her first. And I've gone on to give a number of these talks. Why am I bringing up Vanessa Diana and the amazing English department at Westfield State University? Because their willingness to collaborate with others and to share what they have and to platform other professors and students has literally birthed new things that did not exist. And I think that there's a lesson in there for me. I'm a bit of a turtle. I'm a bit of an introvert. I know it's hard to believe, but I am. But I've been inspired to come out of my shell a little bit more because of some of the colleagues that I have at Westfield State. And so even with me feeling very weird about re-entering predominantly white spaces after everything we just saw, these are the arms that have welcomed me back. And they have been very caring. And so to my colleagues, don't be afraid to collaborate. Make room and space to work with others, because the things that can come from that, you can't have 3-part harmony by yourself. And so those are some of what I would say. I don't even know if I answered your original question. I'm so bad at this.
No, that was perfect. It was just what advice would you have? I think we are out of time, unfortunately. I could keep going for another hour and a half, but I want to end on that optimistic and high note. So don't give up, guys. But I want to send a very, very deep and heartfelt thank you to you, my good sir. You have been a joy to work with, and every time I talk to you, I learn so much from you. Thank you to everyone who has joined us tonight, all of my colleagues who are here. Oh my gosh, there are people from all over the world.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that makes me so happy. Oh my goodness. So just to remind everyone too that this is being recorded. It will be up on the NCHGS YouTube channel with closed captioning. I will send Imo the link as well so his students can view it if they're not able to be here tonight. Any closing thoughts that we want to get out there?
No, just be blessed, everybody, and be kind to someone else this week. Be kind. The world can heal if we're all a little bit more kind to each other, and I think that's lacking right now. Aim to be kind. Make that part of your routine for the next few days. Just be kind. I think we can change the world if we are.
I know we could certainly all use some kindness. And on that note of dealing with such heavy subjects, everyone, please take time for yourself and do self-care, whatever that means to you, however that looks like to you. Please, everyone, be as safe and be as well as you can.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.